Alright guys, continuing on with visual perception principles. Today we're looking at perceptual constancies. So perceptual constancies is what we do when we are making objects seem the same despite the fact that they're not. So no matter how you see these doors here, you see them all as the same door or the same type of door, it's the same size. But if you actually look at the image cast on your retina, this one is a rectangle, this one is actually a trapezium, as is this one. All three are actually different shapes, but we perceive them as being the same. So a perceptual constancy is when we perceive things to be constant, despite the fact that they may not actually be displaying an image on our retina that is constant. So, perceptual constancies refer to the tendency to perceive an object as remaining stable and unchanging or constant despite any changes that may occur to the image on the retina, as we just said. And so we look at size constancy, shape constancy, and brightness constancy. So here, you can see in this image, if I draw a line across this railway, here and here, these are the exact same sized lines. However, in this part of the image, it takes up only a small amount of the railway. This one takes up more than what the railway takes up. And yet, when we perceive this railway going off into the distance, we perceive this size between here and here as staying the same, even though on our retina, the image cast here is a lot smaller than the image cast here. Same with the shape of our clock here. Here it is a perfect circle. Here we start to have an ellipse. Here we have an even narrower ellipse. This one here we're looking at brightness constancy. So this is actually the same color both here and here. And yet when we look at it, this looks darker and this looks brighter. But in actual fact, it's the background color that is changing our idea of what is brighter. Size constancy. Size constancy is recognizing that an object size remains the same even though the size on the retina changes. So think the railway we just looked at. Here, we still perceive these two cars as being the same size car, but on our retina, this is casting a much smaller image than this one here. Same with our train. This part of the train casts a much larger image than this part, but we still maintain this idea that the train is the same size and is rather going off into the distance. Shape constancy. The tendency to perceive an object as maintaining its shape despite any change to the shape cast on the retina. This is like the clock we looked at. And the doors. We've gone through those shapes of the doors before. Here you can see this a bit more in real life. It's more rectangular here. It becomes very much less wide here. Even less so, and even less so. But we still perceive that window as being the same size, despite the fact that if you actually drew a line around the window, we are actually looking at very different shapes. Brightness constancy. The tendency to perceive an object as maintaining its level of brightness in relation to its surroundings, despite changes in the amount of light being from the object reflected to the retina. So this is what we were looking at when we were looking at that red paint streak before. So here's a really good example. This color in the center here is actually the exact same color as in the center here. Yet we see this as a brighter, lighter color because the background is dark. And here we see it as being a darker color because the background here is quite light. You'll get the same here. This is actually the same color as this. This is the same color as this. And again, this is the same color as this. but we perceive that brightness to be changing due to the background.